very special with my dear friend Ann Cohen. I'd like to ask Ann to come on up to the stage. And again, as we celebrate the history, another key part of our history was the San Francisco Oracle. And the Oracle helped get people to the human being, the first edition. And the Oracle helped inspire the people and the ideals of our generation. And Alan was an astounding human. And Annie has become one of my dearest friends, and I want to thank you for coming every year and sharing your love with us. She paints, she reads, she's an inspiring woman. I love you so much, Ann Cohen. Let's hear it for Annie Cohen, everybody.
Here's a shout out for all of you guys. What a wonderful day, isn't it? It really is. I've been down here painting all the bands, and then I have a big one there that I started doing dancers, but I keep getting sidetracked. So anyway, my husband, as he said, was Alan Cohen. He passed away about 15 years ago. But his words are true today as much as they were yesterday. So I'm going to go read and see if I can get myself in a situation that I'm not shadowed. This is called the Hippie documentary script. Who was that masked man and woman who rode across the American consciousness in the mid-'60s and of the 20th century? They appeared first in San Francisco, the city of the gold rush, the Barbary Coast, the 1906 earthquake, and the beatniks. They gathered in around the forgotten district called the Haight-Ashbury, near Golden Gate Park, not far from the end of the American continent. They announced they were going to rid the world of war and injustice by creating a model culture based on peace and love and community living, an economic system based on sharing and giving. Their dream, it swept through the world, and despite regression and repression and pressures raised against it, it still reverberates in an anti-war movement, liberation movements, and even revolutionary movements based on non-violence. Isn't that true? We need a little bit more of that, I think. I think we could use a little bit more of that. So I'm going to read next a poem. I think Alan wrote this in the 80s. He lived on a commune up in Mendocino, and he was a midwife up there. You know, it just kept on doing the thing. Instead of selling pretzels, the edges of my mind were clouded over, and I'd taken too much Tylenol. Only the grim frogman was at the locked pretzel truck. Stuart was late, as usual, so I gave up selling pretzels at the X Games and began a day of wandering through the streets of Golden Gate Park. In the Mission, there were two new homeless couples and a woman with a sign asking for help for her child. I opened my email at the computer store, at the computer cafe. Then I went to Big Jim's and got stoned in his Haight Street pad. I could live there if I could afford it. He told me about his father who committed suicide when Jim was 10. Then I had a falafel at lunch and headed for the park. At Hippie Hill, a young man was waving a cane at a group of young, long hairs, yelling, "I just want to know what the trouble is." Over and over, he yelled that litany until one gentle man got up and soothed his soul, while the others on the hill kept thinking that they missed a bloody fight, and they booed at the successful peacemaking. I walked past the tennis courts, and I watched two black men playing doubles with Asian men. Just past the tennis court, I could see a short, narrow tunnel. I hadn't noticed it before. I walked through it and heard my footsteps echo on the walls. I explored the timbre of the echo in my voice. What is the reason I am? I intoned louder and louder to find the place where the echo was the loudest and chant, Omi pabi hum, with great elongations of the om and the hum. The tongue rings like a Tibetan bell, and the ringing reverberates. You know, the wind is something, you know? It's dancing with me. See that? There we go. Kind of like, you know, in that tunnel. It accumulates until I'm within the ringing. I am the bell, and the bell is my mind. I am a troll in his tunnel. The people see me there, and they walk up the side path to avoid the chanting troll. A young man with his 5-year-old son came happily into the tunnel and walks hurriedly through as I say, the tunnel rings like a bell. I head off to the botanical gardens where there's an Algerian fig tree I used to meditate beneath, embraced by its low bent branches. I look into my mind and I see the blue light through the purple haze and the country road. I often seem rushing through my imagination, and then a burst of light. On my way out, a red-faced, gray-haired man with a Cheshire smile and a small pack on his back tells me there's no longer any weeping left in him. I do love the wind, though. I really do. I love the wind, and I like stormy weather. But this is getting a little bit much with this climate change thing. I'm dancing with those papers again. Time, Christmas, 2001. It's time that's ticking away, second by second, idea by idea. The time of a butterfly, of a bird, a cat, all the same ticking away, each moment a beginning, each moment an ending. Tragic or comic, earthly or cosmic, even the universe's clock is running ever outward until the dissolution and compression of the new Big Bang. That everything began from the invisible massive point, exploding, forming gases, galaxies and planets of the human mind, and ultimately telling the stories of the creation. Our monkey minds creating scenarios, plans, hopes, dreams, and the state, the collective, like Frankenstein, out of control, wreaking death, obsession, and mayhem. It goes on in repeating cycles, whirlwinds, cyclones. We look for the still point, for peace, for transformation. We celebrate the birth, the Christ, the Buddha, every child a new possibility. We see through the mind, the world transformed, peoples at home in their bodies, hungry and disease vanquished. I'm going to read one more poem, and this is dedicated to Ken Kesey. We're all on that bus in memory of Ken Kesey, November 10th, 2001. Walking down Pearl Street in Oakland, a curled brown oak tree leaf flutters and floats down to the sidewalk. I think of Kesey's great soul, ripped like a giant redwood from the earth, floating upward, fluttering around at us, laughing and urging us to the openness that humanity has forgotten in the midst, yes, of another war of fear and hatred. He joins the great cabal of our generation, our beat, hippie ancestors, urging future generations to move forward, real freedom, that its roots in its open heart and the truthful mind. They are greeting him in the land of the ancestors, Kerouac, Ginsberg, Leary, Garcia, Cassidy, Parker, Coltrane, Janis, Hendrix, Miles, right, Corso, Micheline. They are all there smiling at the wonder of the cycles of life, at the humor of being and not being, at the playful fulfillness of the illusion we build our empires upon. They will dance there forever. We can dance with them as we have in the great exploration that opened up the unity we discovered together, hidden in the depths of the mind. This is a real graduation, the alignment with the light towards which we forever are traveling. Thank you. I'd like to give a shout out to one of my sisters that just passed, Yana. She, like me, you know how I do my painting there? We did our paint-ins together. And she would put together so many community things for our sister. She is a true sister of creativity. Shout up for all our friends. Thank you.